Last Pint Productions presents the New Way podcast. The New Way contains adult content, and new episodes are released most Wednesdays. So back off, man. We're professionals. Listener discretion is advised.
So you were in Vietnam, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah?
Were you in the shit?
Yeah, I was in shit.
Last night, Darth Vader came down from planet Vulcan and told me that if I didn't take Lorraine out, that he'd melt my brain.
Here's how you get him. He pulls a knife, you pull a gun. He sends one of yours to the hospital, you send one of his to the morgue.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
Everybody wants to be naked and famous. Everybody wants to be just like me. I'm naked.
Will you help teach me about this? What is it? A new way?
Hello and welcome once again to the New Wave podcast, where we break down pop culture so you don't have to. I'm your host, Matt Shank, joined remotely by Ben Wilson.
I'm a little drunk, I'm not going to lie.
That's totally okay. And Nick Santacroce.
Yeah.
Is that true? Oh, nice. Okay, wow, coming in hot.
Well, I mean, in fairness, Ben and I are coming off of Tornado Watch 2022 last night. So
yeah,
what you do.
You don't understand what's been happening in our house for the past 24 hours. I did go into the office today, but as soon as I got back home, I was just nuts. Like, nope. Yeah, I'm going to open a beer at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's nuts.
Yeah, we here at the Last Pint headquarters, we were not in the direct path of the storm, but most of the state was in some path of the storm in terms of the outer band. So last night, I knew most of the bad weather was coming in last night, and the tornado warnings were coming in on like every device I have in the house, and it overrides like any settings you've got. So I'm getting these alarms going off on my phone, on my watch, on my Alexa,
on the weather radio.
Like everything's like, and it's like we've tornado warning for the next half an hour, and then like half an hour later you get another one, like another tornado warning for like next half hour. As I understand it, I got lucky that at least I maybe there were some, but I might have slept through them. I didn't get any in the middle of the night, but I believe you guys got some.
We got
in
them
the middle
all
of the
night long.
Yeah. Yeah, it's jarring, and I'm a panicker and a worrier by nature, but I also have kind of the fight or flight defense where I like last night. It's just like, well, there may be tornadoes around me, but I don't believe in them, so I'll see these warnings and I'll just like kind of watch my watch, and I'm not going to worry about it. And lo and behold, a tornado hit about 7 miles south of us at Kings Point and took out a condominium complex there, which my favorite thing, and it will almost kind of tie into the topic later on in this podcast, is
It didn't take out.
Well, it didn't take out, but it did damage to King's Point.
Did anybody die?
2 injuries. Yes. Oh, was there? There was a death.
I think there was one death. Yeah.
Like a roof came down. But like, what was strange of watching the news reports come in like at like 5 a.m. this morning is with hurricane watches. You kind of get up with the advisories and see what's going on. They were like, we can't say it was a tornado officially yet, and there's this whole big thing about whether like almost like the tornado is being like allegedly charged with these things, but they're like, it might not have been a tornado. And I'm like, there's cars overturned and roofs off. Like it was either like a Gojira or like when you mean you don't know if it was a tornado.
If the tornado wasn't gay, then they would probably acknowledge it.
Yeah, that's the weirdest. I was like,
but you don't say gay hurricane.
That's right. That's why we can't say it. We don't acknowledge this as a tornado.
I think Matt Gaetz introduced that bill.
No.
These storms' pronouns were they and them, and we are not acknowledging that they exist in South Florida.
Yeah,
so.
like wow.
Ian could totally be a girl's name. Come on.
This is very true. So it's been an interesting couple of days here. So I don't fault you, Ben, for getting started perhaps a little early today.
Before we get too far into the actual topic, I did have to tell Nick a funny story because I was.
We don't get into the topic until at least 30 minutes.
We have a 20-minute listen, guys. I watch for if we're not there at 20, I steer us in, but we're way early from 20.
I could have sworn by my life that this happened with you, Nick, but apparently it did not. It happened with our friend Spud, who played bass in the band Gadwell Lane after Nick played in Gadwell Lane. That
Very replaceable.
we traveled to Gainesville while everyone was evacuating the other way, and I still remember changing our medley song, which is supposed to be Back in Black, to Rock Me Like a Hurricane. And I said, Rock Me Like a Hurricane, Wilma. And I was shocked when my mother-in-law told me that did not happen in 2004. That happened in 2005. And it happened after I had graduated college, and after it was with Spud, because I had sworn that you and I had conspired to do that basically against Luke. And then I realized my whole timeline was completely shifted, because I was like, at that point, Lace would have been in the band. It was definitely a 3-piece. When we played that show, I was like, wow, I think I misremembered the entire thing. But I thought that you had conspired the whole time to change the medley from Back in Black to Rock Me Like a Hurricane.
No, wait a minute. That sounds very familiar.
Because it's a total Nick thing to do. But I think that after you left the band,
Mandela effect?
I picked up the foo-foo.
Well,
and
please don't say that ever again.
He picked up the foo-foo torch and he ran with it. Clearly,
yes.
But you know what? We absolutely had this conversation. Maybe you acted on it with Spud and actually did it. But I mean, listen, there's a hurricane in Florida every year. I know we had this conversation. I absolutely know. I mean, come on.
So what I'm thinking maybe happened is maybe we had the conversation and Luke talked us against it, but I know that for a fact that
he did it
in 2005 in Gainesville in October, we actually did it. Like,
oh my
Luke
God.
was not expecting, and we straight went into Rock Me Like a Hurricane.
I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, it makes me so happy. Well, see, I laid the foo-foo seeds, and you just watered them and nurtured them and brought them into adulthood and harvested it in front of those people.
And I'm sure I just looked at Luke with like a wild eye in my like wild hair in my eyes and was just like, "Yep, we're doing it." And he was just like,
"See wild hair in your eyes?"
Yeah, wild hair in his eyes.
A wild hair.
That sounds like a Pearl Jam lyric.
Well,
no.
Well, here it is.
So funny enough, it's
a little too legible for a Pearl Jam lyric.
I actually
wild hair in his eyes.
I unfortunately heard that song quite a bit this weekend, as one of our loyal listeners was in town. My best friend from younger years, Casey, came into town with his entire family and took me to the Miami Hurricanes game on Saturday, which
where you got fucking thrashed by MTSU.
Was it a bad game? I don't recall it being that bad of a game, but
it was a pretty bad game.
If you lose to a school with
Middle Tennessee State University,
middle in the title,
Nick, they lost to self. They lost to they lost to Murfreesboro.
Yeah,
is that Murfreesboro?
Yes,
yeah.
Protomen too.
It was
it
was wonderful. It was wonderful to see my friend. We had a wonderful day. I got to hang out with his kids and entertain them during the game.
In 130 degrees to watch Middle Tennessee State.
It was actually before the game. It was brutally terribly hot, but then there was a nice lightning delay because of storms, and that cooled things down pretty decently.
Nice.
So it wasn't terrible.
Oh, delightful.
The temperature, oddly enough, was the least of our worries that afternoon for this game, which is not exactly how we thought it would be. But yeah, it was my first football game in person, I think, since the Ravens game I went to you with, Ben.
Yeah,
it
probably
was like 2017. I don't know, something like that.
No, 2019.
Oh, 19? I didn't remember it being that recent. But yeah, I did listen. It's an enjoyable time.
It was a Lamar Jackson.
Yes,
pretty good for a running back game.
Are you sure you didn't see that game with Spud? Ben? 2019. Fact check this.
In other things to cover before we get into our topic, I don't know if you guys have watched this week's Andor or not, or if you've watched some of Andor.
I was actually planning on putting on Andor after we get off this.
Listen, I mean, with Rogue One being my favorite of the new movies, it's right up my alley for sure. I think it is.
I was thinking about watching She-Hulk and or Hawkeye, but I'm not sure.
Andor.
God damn it.
Andor. What's Andor?
Yeah, there it is.
No. See,
There
I
it
was
is.
planning
There it
to
is.
watch one or both of those two shows. Two
Yeah.
shows. Did you get a third show from that? I'm so
There we go.
confused.
There we go.
Explain it to me.
And this has been Who's on First for a new audience.
Teach me how to
And,
understand Christmas.
I'm curious if everyone else, like for me, Andor is teed up to be just. It's built for me, and especially like I love watching the machinations of all of these like low level, like imperial like generals and lieutenants and all these people. I don't know why, but that is like the most. That's the part of this universe that I find endlessly fascinating, even though seems kind of, I guess, boring in general, but I love it. I cannot get enough of it. And there's quite a bit of it this episode actually, where we start to meet a new antagonist.
I'm looking forward to watching it actually. I mean, obviously I love Diego Luna, and I love, like, I'm not a huge Rogue One fan.
Yeah.
I will be the antagonist about the Rogue One thing, but I love his character in that movie. So I'll
yeah, I think it's pretty.
It's quite good. It's quite good. I'm really enjoying it.
I think it is. It's not quite. I don't think anything will be Mandalorian at this point. It's not quite Mandalorian, but it is for me leaps and bounds better than Boba Fett and better than Obi-Wan as well. And I liked Obi-Wan in general, but I didn't love it. And this is, I think, just way better.
Since you mentioned the She-Hulk, I have to say, I mean, obviously, Luna is just super into She-Hulk, and they've been home for the last couple of days because of the storm. So I was like, well, if you want to watch your first rated R movie on AMC, the Matrix is on there. And so, but I did think it was pretty funny that the Matrix started and Luna was watching it, and then they have the follow the white rabbit part where she has the tattoo on her, and she just goes. So it zooms in on the tattoo of the white rabbit, and Luna goes, "Oh shit!" And I was like,
she was ready. She was ready.
Yeah.
Excellent parenting.
They grow up so fast. I'm talking about
best I can.
Man, I really wish my first R-rated movie was The Matrix. I would have seen it well into adulthood, but at least it wouldn't have been Waterworld.
But Waterworld's PG-13.
Yeah, we've gone over this. So there's another R. We covered this, that you realize your first R-rated movie was something different because Waterworld was
just
not
your first ass.
Yeah, there's just butt.
That was my first butt.
And it's a butt double too, which makes it even the worst. It's the worst kind of butt to get because it's not even the real butt.
Not even the
it's a fake
talent.
butt.
Unbelievable.
Animatronic butt.
We talked about this before?
We did.
Yes,
Because we dug in deeper to find out what
it was. Did we find out what it was? Shit. The Time Cop?
Time Cop would have been around the same time as Waterworld.
Time Cop is probably
Time Cop.
Oh no.
That's amazing.
That's even worse.
I will say there's also on network TV, which we don't talk about a ton on this show for good reason. I just started the first 2 episodes of the Quantum Leap reboot. So they have rebooted Quantum Leap. It's interesting. I think
Do they transport the new guy into the body of a child with Down syndrome?
Not yet. But it's early. It's very early.
They transport the new guy into the body of Scott Bakula.
Yeah,
So
there were some old OG episodes with such good concepts and such good jumps, or leaps, I guess.
Yes,
I should call them. But like that one episode for a while that they didn't have it streaming, they took it off.
Yeah,
and people were demanding they put this episode.
The I'm retarded episode.
Yes. Yeah. It's
because you watch it and you do. I watched it and I gotta say, maybe I'm too much of an apologist for Quantum Leap, which is totally possible.
I'm okay with that.
It felt like their heart was in the right place.
No, 1991, their heart was in the right place.
It's so bad. Like I do. I truly believe that maybe they thought they were really trying something profound. Well, let me say what I'm saying first, then you can say something about what I'm saying. They tried their best, and it was terrible, and it's awful, and there's no defending that episode. That being said,
I'll defend that
They
episode.
tried.
I'll
think they
defend that
tried.
episode. I'll
Okay.
say I think built into the DNA of Quantum Leap is a brilliant get out of jail free card, which is that we are traveling through time
Yeah.
and we are going through what was happening in all of these eras at these times. It's kind of built in for that to be the thing. I kind of hope that they lean into some of that kind of PC awareness in this of like of controversial leaps and things like that. I
love
think
that.
It would be great if they did, for sure.
well,
yeah.
the premise, everything about there, I would say right now it's batting like a solid 80%. And I think there's a couple great things. One is that Ernie Hudson is in it, and he's playing the war buddy of when Sam has to leap into his brother in Vietnam. In the original series, he winds up saving a guy named Magic. This guy's now heading up the new version of the Quantum Leap project. So we have this tie-in of someone that like knew Sam while he was leaping and has now learned that this guy impacted his life.
But where is Sam exactly?
We don't know. Sam is still. So the project was shut down and Sam was lost forever. They've started this project up kind of in semi-secret now.
Well. So the showrunners have straight up come up and said though that they want Bakula.
Of
in
course,
the show.
yes.
Like he's going to be in the show in season 2.
And he's been
But
playing,
didn't-
coy a little
Didn't
bit.
Count Bakula say like no more Quantum Leap? Didn't
That's what he said.
Yeah.
Said, but Scott Bakula
Also,
got
Hugh
eat.
Jackman said he wasn't going to be Wolverine again.
Yeah.
Also, in fairness, Scott Bakula did revisit Quantum Leap in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So I
True.
think that we are ready for doing this again. But I think
By the way, now that you brought up Hugh Jackman, the reveal.
We have to talk about it.
well, hold on.
I'm we're not done with Quantum Leap yet? Okay.
I'm just
Just
trying
let
to
Matt
set
get
the,
there.
No,
set the table of.
I think this is actually a very good learning experience for us. You know,
I
this is good for us. This is good for
So,
us to work through this.
I think the one area that it falters, and this is all stuff that happens in the beginning of the pilot, but basically the guy there's a guy and his wife that are part of the Quantum Leap project. They're having this big party for, I think it's his birthday or her birthday. They're about to get married. And then all of a sudden he goes into the Quantum Leap accelerator without like telling anyone part of the project, and he leaps. And now they're all scrambling to figure out why did he leap? What's going on? It turns out that he's got some sort of like side plot with Al's daughter and Al's mother are like involved in it. But the person that plays his Al is his wife, and it's the only part of it that is not working for me. And I don't know what they could do to replace. I don't know how you replace Dean Stockwell in that role. He was just so fucking great, and the character was so great. They need to fix what's happening, because having it be a love interest, and the fact is that like he can't remember anything and she wants to jog his memory, but she's not supposed to because of the thing, and like that's where they're trying to build the tension. And it's the only thing that I'm like, because the guy is awesome. The dude that is playing the main lead is fantastic. She's the only kind of part that I think they need to retool and figure out how to make it work. But that's my review of Quantum Leap.
I think they should build like a Flash type style antagonist where there's another guy going to the same places, only using rival technology. They don't call it leap; they call it bounding.
They call it
quantum leaps and bounds.
Are you
with a finale?
He's
Are
played
you?
by
But are
Hayden
you?
Christensen?
Did you watch the original series like regularly? Because
I
you
mean,
know
not
that is a
regularly.
plot. That is a
That
plot
is plot
point.
line?
There's an evil leaper that's literally she's got her own Al, who's this like crazy lady, and
Whoa.
they're going and undoing
But
all
do
of
they
the
call-
shit that he's doing.
But do they call?
They do
it,
not make a leaps
bound?
and bounds joke.
All right,
I don't
then
believe.
it
I don't
sucks.
believe.
Then I have something to offer the franchise.
But it was one of my favorite. Like they would show up every so often. The evil leapers, and they like their color was red when they leaped into things. It was phenomenal.
Matt's just showing his age right now
I am.
because
I
I'm
watched
like,
this show on TV. Donald P. Pelizzario, my hero.
But do you green light quantum leaps and bounds or not?
You
You like it or not?
The premise, great.
The premise,
the
the
title,
title.
branding,
No,
no,
there's
no.
the
Branding is
package
out.
deal.
Branding's out. We got.
Package deal.
I'm
How
so
dare
sorry.
you.
We're gonna have to pass.
That's the best part.
No.
It's a
Christ.
no. It's a no
That's
for
the
me.
best
Dom.
part.
It's a
How
no.
dare you?
I'm so sorry.
All right, so Deadpool 3. All right,
we have to talk about it.
they released this great video in classic Ryan Reynolds fashion, which just, also doubles as an aviation gin ad, like
Yeah, it's
every
like
one
everything.
of his other announcements. But the big reveal, of course, is that Hugh Jackman is going to reprise Wolverine in Deadpool 3, and it might even be the first movie of Phase 4 because they left that slot.
We're in Phase 4
Did
now.
you see the follow-up video, by the way?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, because they do a follow-up addressing, like, is it going to be, did Logan take place? Did he die? What years does take place in? And they're just like, Logan exists, and then they make a gag of it, and they start explaining everything else, and then Wham comes on, and they just start playing that, and while they talk in the background, you can't hear it, and they just pantomime a bunch of stuff happening in the movie. It's
now
phenomenal.
here's what, man, I thought about this a lot, and this. Tell me what you think about this. In all honesty, I think this would piss off a lot of fanboys, and I'm kind of all about that these days. At the same time,
me too.
I think this fits. Okay, what if? And then in the first video, like it fades. It says "coming hewn," and it shows it shows a Deadpool logo, and then a snicked. The claws rip 3, claws through the logo. That's the official logo. That's going to be presumably on posters and shit. What I want so bad, is that they market the shit out of this. Hugh Jackman is in every commercial, every poster has but like all of this leading up to it, and the whole movie is Ryan Reynolds like, I bet you Wolverine's going to show up any. Oh, I know what's that. Just stalling until the very end, where it just all of a sudden it's just non-consequential.
Yeah,
hey, bub.
It's like an ass cheek or something like that. Like you don't even see his face. Like he just pops in the frame for a second.
I wasn't going to go with that. Listen, I know we're in the water world tangent, but like just like no, but like less consequential than that. Like just hey. That's it. Cut to credits. That's it. You wait the entire movie, the entire campaign is all about Hugh reprising. So that way, like you definitely don't shit on how they were able to end his run as Wolverine on a really high note in Logan. You get a total Deadpool gag. I mean, people would be pissed. I gotta think that maybe, I don't know, if you pitch something like that and Feige likes it, I feel like they would do it.
I was playing it like the Henry Cavill Shazam. Like in Shazam, at the very end of Shazam, how he's like, oh yeah, I invite a friend.
His neck down.
You just see his body from like that.
Breaking news.
Apparently, it actually was Henry Cavill.
Breaking news.
That's funny.
Coolio just died.
Oh, really?
Breaking news. Now you probably know this already by the time you're listening to this. This is not.
Yeah, we're not going to air this.
Coolio just died.
Wow. Shit.
I wonder what the
Weird Al star of Daredevil.
Tweets are going to be. Oh my God, he wasn't Daredevil.
Well, he was cut.
He was cut out. Harvest my grain. I'll take a look at my life and realize it's very plain.
Well, jarring as that is, I'm going to steer us back here because I want to talk about something that Nick and
I've never been able to break live news on the podcast before. I wanted to take advantage of it.
I think we sadly
R.I.P.
I think we sadly broke Chadwick Boseman on the podcast as well.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, we're not really breaking anything because it's not live, but it
is breaking for us.
Yeah,
so it's
breaking for us this moment.
You ruined my night.
Sorry.
I had a hurricane, and now Coolio's dead. Fucking everything's falling to pieces. But Nick and I were talking about what they could be doing, kind of with Wolverine in this, and I have no problem with if he's going to come back for a swan song. Whatever it is after the fact of closing that character out, this is how I would like it to be. I don't want it to be anywhere else. And I think it's great to get them to actually work together. But Nick and I were saying, it'd be great if they had the balls to have it have them have a romantic relationship in this. and Nick was like, oh, it can be like a love post or something. I was like, no. I want to see it. I want them to go full Talladega Nights, like the end of Talladega Nights. I want it to be graphic. And I want it to not be explained away by
insertion.
Yeah, well, I was telling Nick that, but the funniest thing that Paul ever said was we were watching True Blood, and somebody was like, "Man, why are all these vampires gay?" And Paul's like, "You're alive for 200 years. You're gonna try it." And I'm like, "That's what I want out of Wolverine. I want ancient, been around for a long time Wolverine." It's like, fuck it. All right, bub, let's do this.
I want Wet Hot American Summer style.
Yes.
I want
Deadpool. The first Deadpool has her pegging him. They're already on the precipice of doing some fun stuff.
Do you think they're ballsy enough to do like a like the prongs coming out of Wolverine's hand, and then one central one like going somewhere it shouldn't.
That would be so. And he's like, "Oh no,
No.
that hurts."
Jesus.
I mean, I want to see them. I want to see them really lean into this hard, and I want to see them. And
Yeah,
I think
you
they
do.
need to.
So what
I
you're
want them
saying
to
is you
ruin
want to see
fans.
Wolverine and Deadpool fornicate.
Absolutely. Who doesn't? You telling me that's not going to be the highest grossing movie of the year? Fuck that.
I mean,
it's going to outgross Passion of the Christ.
I would like to consider myself a heterosexual male. If I see Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman fucking going at it, I'm never coming back. I'm sorry. I'm on the other team for the.
I'm going to close one eye, but I'm going to watch with one eye. That's how I reconcile this.
And then Paul Rudd's going to show up as a tiny Ant-Man and go.
No. Now you're just ruining everything.
Now it's getting a little too boys territory. But yes, I think
if Paul Rudd and Jason Segel show up, then it's
then you're done. Then you're really done.
I think they can do whatever they want at this point. I think I like that Feige is excited about this. I love that. Did you see Krasinski's tweet? So no. John Krasinski retweeted the announcement. He was like, "Oh, is this our movie they're talking about? Oops." And then just like doesn't say anything else, nice. Which I love. Like that's the part of the whole Marvel machine. And I'll be honest, the DC movies, the guys that were really into it, that were in the movies like Momoa, and even Cavill, and Gal Gadot, like there were people in there that were excited about those properties. I think that is such like the core of making these things really fun for people, as the people involved in it being excited about it, watching them at these events and stuff.
And you know what? We had to get there with Liz Olsen. You get to kind of get the feeling when you watch those early interviews that like she's like wouldn't say no, but like wasn't super stoked about it. And she would do those interviews like, I'd like them to do House of M. Of course, they'll never do something that dark. And then once they started giving her stuff to work with, I think she's fully on board now. You know, like
and that makes
100%.
sense. Like
loves Wanda.
It makes sense also not be as excited when you're not getting the material
when you don't know what your
people
character actually is.
Yeah,
sure,
you know,
but there were much smaller characters getting cast, well-known actors who were fucking stoked, sure. You know, from the get-go. So I'm just saying that you can tell, and it does make.
I mean, look at Bettany. Bettany didn't even watch any of the movies until Ultron. He didn't even know. Like he just showed up for his recording sessions.
For me, you don't have to know anything about it. You just have to be fucking jazzed to be a part of it.
And Bettany was pissed off because he thought he was going to get fired. He was like, when Feige called him to his office to do WandaVision, he was just like, "Okay, I'm getting sacked. So I guess this is the way it's going to go, or whatever. It's been a good run.
It's good stuff."
Whoa, I just saw something. I saw a tweet.
Somebody else die?
No one else died. I saw a tweet that said maybe this actually could be a chance for Hugh Jackman to get what he always wanted secretly all along, a Wolverine musical.
Ooh.
What if they got you to sing a song with Ryan Reynolds?
That would be
like,
so good.
Fucking sing as Wolverine.
I mean, they've done musical sequences already in this franchise. He did his whole thing with Celine Dion as part of the marketing campaign for Deadpool 2. I think that's 100% in line.
I want a
this.
song. And honestly, I still want the inconsequential. I think to me, just like fucking with them like that would honestly. My personal choice is a non-consequential Came Within, right? But if they go in, I want them to go. You go in.
I get the feeling they've got the same guys writing it that have written the three. I don't know who's they have not announced a director yet. Although that didn't seem to be a problem switching between the two, between Deadpool 1 and Deadpool 2. I didn't feel that there was a drastic decrease or increase at all. It just sort of seemed kind of the same thing. So I think that I have a feeling they're going to lean hard into this and just trusted that these two movies have made a gazillion dollars, and Disney, as much as they want to censor other shit, they want that money and they've got it. If it's theirs to print with it at this point.
They got to get that money.
They got to get that. They got to eat. Mickey got to eat.
Well, I mean, at this point, Ryan Reynolds has made so many Hugh Jackman references through the first two Deadpool movies that there was no way that he was not going to be a part of the third movie if that got greenlit. So
Well, you could say no, like he was saying, but if that's the unique thing about it.
How can you say no to that face?
Well, that's the perfect situation after years of them going back and forth on Twitter and the fans eating it up off a silver platter. It's the one circumstance in which Hugh would say, you know what, okay, yeah, sure. And that was the joke at the first reveal. Yeah, sure, Ryan. Yeah,
well,
yeah.
And it's kind of funny also with like my brother and I were watching the Taylor Hawkins tribute concert, and like they
did another one last night in LA.
Yeah, I haven't seen the new one yet. I'm super excited, but we're watching the
Miley
original.
Cyrus doing
the one in Britain was basically like 10 bands that swore they would never get on stage again together and perform. Like my brother was like, oh, yeah, this band has said like famously it would never gather together, and these guys said they would never. It was the one thing that brought all of these people, and it's also my brother was kind of thinking about this as well, and I agree that like it also was the first time I had hoped that the Foo Fighters might continue on in some capacity versus kind of, earlier this year, I would have thought like, oh no, that this is it. Like there's no way they're coming back in any form. But yeah, that concert, I don't think we talked about it on here or not, but what a phenomenal first part of the concert. I haven't watched the second yet.
Second's horrible.
Quick commercial break before we get into the actual topic.
Sure.
So for South Florida listeners, on Monday, October 17th, we are doing a benefit for the American Cancer Society at Hopportunities called Hops Against Cancer. So you should come.
That sounds like a great opportunity.
I will be there. And the day before, I will be watching the musical 6 with you and your family.
Looking forward to that.
It's going to be,
I'm going to be in
a good
Irwin,
weekend.
Tennessee the day before that at Burial Brewing in Asheville,
Wow.
Tennessee, or Asheville, North Carolina, which is going to be fun.
Is that near Middle Tennessee?
Fuck
Tennessee?
you. How dare you?
No. That's
Nick,
far
we
east.
got 10 people that contact me each week to say, where's the episode? I need this in my life. And one of them is the person you're making fun of right now, and he's not going to respond.
I'm not making fun of anybody.
I mean, the Hurricanes losing to Middle Tennessee. I kept calling
a football team losing a game. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have crossed. That line.
Hey, listen, sports is life. All right. So anyway, we've gone way over. I had no idea.
Coolio just died.
Oh, by the way, guys, Buster Rhymes.
Breaking news. Aaron Judge hit 61st home run.
And Buster Rhymes dead also, along with Coolio.
Buster is alive.
Bust is alive. Okay, Bust is alive. But
how dare you?
Is gone.
What would you do if I got a notification about Carl Winslow?
Don't you dare! That man. The only thing that we've done maybe is he's going to live forever. Because we've tried to kill him so many times. Now he's got 9 lives.
No, it would only be if Reginald Val Johnson died sometime during the podcast. That would be the most.
God, if he died
thing.
while we're recording, that would be. I wouldn't believe. I mean, there's no way I would believe anyone at this point without having to Google it.
I'm not going to joke about that.
Anyway.
It's not going to be
for you.
No.
That's right.
I will never. I promise you, I will never joke about that.
Every time that Nick thinks Carl Winslow has died, he just yells out in joy, "It's nerd vote, motherfucker!" And that's and then he pours one out for his homie, and that's how it works out there. All right, on to our topic of the day. So I was very, very nondescript about the parameters for this topic, so I'm very curious to see what everyone has brought together, but. The basic idea is I said, I want to talk about fantastic beasts, creatures in cinema and or TV. And this was somewhat inspired by watching House of the Dragon. I know, which we shouldn't speak about in front of Mr. Nick, but
I don't care. I don't care.
But I did want to. I was going to bring this up a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about House of the Dragon and the Lord of the Rings series, and it ties in perfectly to this topic for tonight. So there's one thing that has always bothered me as a fan of a certain property. And I am a very much a Harry Potter nerd. I loved the books. I don't so much love the author's stance on things nowadays, but I still love the books. I love the movies.
She's awful.
She's very terrible.
Worse.
But I loved the books. I loved the movies for the most part. I think there were some issues, but the one thing that used to drive me nuts in the movies, and especially drove me nuts being friends with
The
Ben.
hypocrites?
No, it was the fucking special effects in the Harry Potter movies are so bad. Other than a couple of things which I will bring up on later on in this episode.
It's not She-Hulk bad.
But dude, it is 1,000 times
I'm
worse
joking.
than any.
I'm
like
joking.
I'm watching these Lord of the Rings series that looks like the fucking the cinema. I'm watching House of Dragons, which is getting shit on for some of its stuff, and I'm like, this is still so much better. And the Harry Potter movies, the first two came out alongside the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. So I'm watching Gollum and then the fucking troll in the dungeon in Sorcerer's Stone that looks like I rendered it in MS Paint. Like I remember just as a fan being like, they had the money. Like there was no reason that they couldn't budget behind that, knowing that this was going to be such a huge fucking thing. Always drove me nuts. So I'm very excited tonight.
Well, they knew that they would make the same amount of money.
You're fucking right, and I hate
And it
that
doesn't
you're
matter.
right, but you're fucking right, and it drives me nuts.
Was there a griffin? Not a hippogriff. Was there a griffin in those films?
There isn't a griffin, but I will say, so I can get into it here. But the best creature creation they did in all of the Harry Potter movies, and is in my probably top 3 favorite creatures, is Buckbeak the hippogriff. It's the first. It was the first movie that they got Quaron on there. He's like, get me Weta, and I want them on this, and I want them on Lupin's Werewolf. And those are the 2 only really interesting pieces of creature creation in those. But Buckbeak is fucking phenomenal. Everything about that, the score, everything around it is great. But I want to kind of talk about criteria for creating a great creature, a fantastical creature in a film. And I think, and I want to hear your inputs as well, but for me, it comes down to design, behavior, and character. And I think for me, at least, those are the 3 things that will make something work for me. What does it look like? Is it an interesting to design? Does it make sense? What is the behavior of it? Does it act like an animal? Does it have kind of these things? And then what sort of personality or character does it have on top of that? So that you kind of, at that point, that's where it feels real. It feels like something that exists, that could exist in our world if that fantastical thing existed. Do you guys have other things that you're kind of looking for when you're thinking of these pivotal creatures in your filmography?
Well, I mean no.
No. I mean, that I think you pretty comprehensively covered it.
Well,
there.
that was a fucking first in the podcast of like, anybody have a thought? And
Just
fucking
we 100%
nothing,
agree
just
with you.
dead.
But I will say that there are movies that that have multiple creatures or whatever. So
Sure.
let me throw out like the Neverending Story and Labyrinth as 2 that have very individualistic characteristics, like with all of the characters that are beasts or that are fantastical characters. And I mean, because the first thing I was super excited when you first introduced the concept of the idea of the podcast. I was like, well, Falkor is absolutely the best fantastical beast of all time, in my opinion.
Whew.
And I was like, well, actually, that might draw some a little bit of debate.
I think
there.
everyone's going to have. I think we all are going to have our favorite. And I
thought yours would have been Slimer.
Ooh, that's not a bad one either.
Not a bad one either, but no, Falkor is definitely mine.
I'm curious, Nick, do you have like a definitive number 1 in this? Because I think we might, for the first time, all of us actually have definitive number 1s for each of us.
Matt, I ranked my top 10
most
I wouldn't say influential, but I would say creatures that stuck with me from a child, and that was really my only parameter. I'm thinking.
I think you should list them off, and I'll tell you if they're on my list.
Because I don't know. I was also thinking we just have a conversation, and I'll tell you the list ranked at the end. We might talk about things on the list. I don't know. Maybe Falkor's on my list, but I love this topic too because it's a very visceral thing for me. I went through a huge Greek mythology phase and dinosaur phase, like most like little boys, right? But like I was obsessed with Greek mythology, and I brought up the griffin because that was my favorite monster. And it wasn't in any of the Harryhausen films. It wasn't in Harry Potter. It's still never. I think it was actually in something recently.
It's in a great Family Guy gag from the first season.
Tear.
Griffin. It just looks and sees a griffin in the room. That is one of the funniest cutaways I have ever seen in my life.
Well, like Eric Carle, who did the Hungry Caterpillar, did a book of myths and had a hippogriff up against a griffin and 2 poems about them. And like I was obsessed with all of that. So when creatures like that were in movies, as I'm going through my like, big movie phase, like that's what I would a lot of times close to the main human character, just because that's where my mind and my heart was at. So I love this topic a lot. The only one that kind of like skirts whether it counts or not is the Phantom from Phantom of the Opera, which I was obsessed with. And I was the Phantom for Halloween.
Not the Phantom played by Billy Zane from the Phantom.
No, not the Phantom.
I had promised to
Michael
not.
Crawford. Michael Crawford.
I had an internal rule that I was not going to discount anyone that just did like animals that were made in movies or things like that. But I can't. I'm so sorry. It's you're the one test of he's a man.
He's a man.
He's just
but
disfigured.
I know.
I'm also going to discount anybody who's going to discount Billy Zane. So
he lives in lore.
He's
the character lives in lore.
He's not mad. He's just
as a
crippled man.
I know the story. And that's why I prefaced it and
There's
everything.
There's an episode where
it.
Scott Bakula leaps into his body. That's very controversial. He's just a man with a messed up face.
He takes off his mask in the mirror and he goes, "I'm a phantom." It's a famous gift.
Oh God.
Okay, forget it. All right then. Do you count Beetlejuice?
No.
Why not?
I count the sandworm, but Beetlejuice is just a ghost.
He's with the most, babe.
Oh, come on. Come on. You're
all right,
trolling me now, right?
Oh, listen, I'm not. I'm asking you because I have one very high on my list, and I feel like you're going to tell me. What about Belial from Basket Case?
The basket?
The creature in the basket.
Yes, that's a creature.
No, well, guess what, Matt? That was the brother. That was the Siamese brother of the man, and the whole plot is that they're trying to hunt down the doctors that separated them, and now you want to dehumanize. Poor Belial.
Yes, he and Quado are in the same realm of these. So I split up all of my creatures into different categories.
Trying to make me feel bad about the Phantom. Listen,
well, I didn't know, Nick, that I had apparently a Quado category, which now has Basket Case and some other people in it. But
if anybody out there has not seen
time.
Listen, if anybody out there has not seen Basket Case, by the way, also,
Lordy,
sorry to step on any jokes, but please, everyone see Basket Case. It's perfect for the season. Seek it out. It's a must see. I bought my mother a Belial Christmas ornament for the tree. And it's the creature, the horrifying creature coming out of the basket. My dad straight up refuses to let her put it on the tree.
He's smart.
Not in the back where no one's going to see it. Nowhere. It can't go on the tree.
What is its name?
Belial.
Did you know that? Like, did you have to look that up again, or did you remember that?
Oh no.
See, I would not in a million years have gotten that.
It's a name for Satan, and it's in a ton of
Bills above.
And yeah, no.
Yeah.
Belial.
Okay, that makes sense.
Osmodeus.
Well, so it was kind of interesting because I wasn't sure where we would go with like how humanoid creatures might be in this versus aliens. Obviously, Mac and Me, the greatest alien creation ever put on in cinema. Wow. Paul Rudd knows where it's at.
We'll see where I
kind of talked about, last week we spoke about monster movies a little bit and kind of creature features. There are aliens, so you can look at things that are in kind of the Star Star Wars universe, or things like the Fifth Element that have great creations. You have fantastical creatures like dinosaurs and unicorns, and then you have a whole genre built around dragons. Like dragons is, I think, the number one fantastical creature made, right?
But no one who has ever been a human or resembles a human or is not allowed.
Are they walking on two legs like a man? Not a creature.
What is this, Animal Farm rules?
That's right. Yeah, it's perfect.
All right, take it easy, Orwell.
If it's not Pete's dragon, that's not a dragon.
Now, I love that you brought up Pete's dragon because it just missed my list. My sister and I, and again, I always consult with her. That was like her first thing that she get like guttural reaction.
Have you watched the live action Pete's Dragon?
No.
Dude, that's David Lowery.
Phenomenal.
It is so good.
Really?
It is the best family film.
It
I
is
think of the
up
last
on
decade.
my it's in my top 10 of creature flicks.
Wait, are you sure it's not just a kids movie, Ben?
No, it's
a family movie.
It's a family movie. I watched it with my family and no children present.
Wow, I'm going to recommend I watch that with my family.
Oh my god, please do. It's so
David
good.
Lowery, who directed like The Green Knight.
Wow, weird.
It's super amazing.
Is Mickey Rooney in it?
No. Far better than it needs to be.
I still remember I cried in the first 10 minutes of that movie. I was like legitimately cried in the theater because we took the girls to see it, and I was just like, wow, like why is this movie affecting me so much?
That's Ben. It's healthy, all right. You experience emotion deeper.
Why are my eyes leaking like this? What's happening?
You're in touch with your emotions, and I'm proud of you, Ben.
As much as I liked DC Super Pets, which I took the girls to see last week.
It's kids film, you think?
It's very good. Did not cry during that movie, but I did cry during Pete's Dragon.
Well, I will let David Eakin know. You did not cry during
I could have cried if it had been as good as Pete's Dragon, but no,
yes,
it is
exactly.
Pete's Dragon it deserves very much to be on this list. It's a great creature design. It's a great human design of the people.
Wait, which one are we talking about?
Are we talking about the most recent one?
The 2016 live action with Bryce Dallas Howard, Robert Redford.
Right. No, I know there's a new version of it, but did the live action version have like a pink Beatles haircut? Like a mop top? Like a pink mop top?
They've updated some things, Nick.
No pink hair is what you're saying.
They've updated some things, Nick.
That's bullshit.
No.
Okay, Robert Redford does have pink hair like the original Pete's Dragon. So.
Hashtag not my Pete's Dragon.
I think in like a lot of my list, I tried a little bit. Like I think we could talk about alien type creatures forever. But I kind of went more. I think carnal, animalistic. I think part of what I love about creature design, why I said kind of like thinking about behavior, is something like How to Train Your Dragon, which I still think is the best use of dragons in popular media for us right now. I think they do a phenomenal job of giving those dragons personality and traits and things like, it's very Disney-fied, even though it's not a Disney property. Disney did a great job of that with their horses. You can see that in Tangled. You have that classic Disney horse character that acts like a dog a little bit more than a horse, because it makes it more identifiable for the audience.
Well, for me, it was more about putting them into properties that had interesting, like, animal characteristics or whatever, where you had these beasts or whatever. So for me, it really broke down to Star Wars. I mean, great property with a bunch of different types of beasts, and then like things like Harry Potter. And then, obviously, we have.
Well, you got all of the Lord of the Rings, which has got.
He's
going
purist. He's like this is the most classical definition you could have from this.
But I would say that again, my favorite is
the Phantom of the Opera.
Is the Phantom of the Opera, of course.
Michael Crawford's Phantom of the Opera.
Billy Zane's Phantom in the opera. That's the crossover we need.
I want that so bad.
It's Wolfgang Petersen's never-ending story, because I think that the actual character's design there was built from the ground up, and it was super, super interesting what they did with the racing snail and what they did with Falcor and what they did with the bat and all those types of things were just ground up designs, and that's what I really enjoy and appreciate, like in filmmaking, when it's like when you have this blank palette. And it's just like, okay, let's come up with something that's really cool. Even though the Neverending Story was adapted, it was still very, very loosely interpreted when it came to the actual.
Well, and I think a lot of that also
did.
comes down to what are the human or grounded characters that are interacting with them, and do they interact with them in a way that makes them feel real? So I'll tell you what the number one is on my list. This should come as no surprise to any of you here or anyone that's ever been in my house.
Wait. I'm not gonna guess it. Can I guess it?
You can guess it.
This is your number one?
My number one, easily number one. I was the easiest decision I had in this whole thing.
Audrey too?
100%. And not only do I just love what they've did in the film with Audrey 2, because I do think it is one of the most phenomenal feats put on film, and the fact that they slowed down the audio to get the sync right in it, and Rick Moranis worked overtime to like act opposite this plant, and it feels so real and so visceral, and it holds up. I watch that movie probably once a year, and that plant looks just as fucking real, and because they slowed it down, the way the mechanics work, it moves perfectly. But I
remember I bought like a board game that, like, it was like sensitive. You put like marbles, and like if you put too much, it would snap at you. And there were so many like
it's amazing. Like it's
toys I remember that are vivid in my imagination.
And I've been sending Nick these TikToks. So there was a production in 2016 in Pasadena, where Nick currently lives. And I remember seeing I saw the two leads constantly, because it was a big deal that she was Afro-Latino. He was Latin American, playing Seymour. It was like a big deal to have this kind of multicultural representation in a Little Shop of Horrors, and everyone's talking about it. And it took me and I watched all of these like clips of them. Like they were on like Fallon and all these other things. They did Suddenly Seymour constantly. I had never seen what they did with the plant. And somebody on TikTok posted, they go, listen, we've seen 100 productions, 1,000 productions of Little Shop of Horrors, and the plant is always a variation on the theme of the Venus flytrap, and it's pretty much just you've got the three sizes, and you build these puppets, and this is how they look, and here's where the person sits inside of it, and there's someone backstage. What they did with this production is they made this like otherworldly, tentacled, pink and purple plant that doesn't look like any other design I've ever seen of Audrey 2. And they utilize multiple actors to like puppet parts of it in black, outfits where they're in the back of the stage. But the best part
they'll
is
turn off the floodlights, and people in whole black body suits are moving invisibly in the background
and the way they get around the transition is even better, is that there's a whole kind of subplot that Seymour is imagining all of this shit with the plant. So there are these moments where when he's talking with the plant, it becomes huge, and they make these like big flowery looking things in the background, and it gets bigger, and it's got the tentacles, and then someone walks on stage and he turns around and he's got a little plant in his hand, and he's talking to them, and it's like, is the plant changing because there are people around, or is Seymour imagining all of this shit that's going on? Like, it is phenomenal. And to be able to make that character of Audrey 2 something new after 30, 40 years of doing that music, that came out in the early 80s. So 40 years that show has been on stage. Audrey 2, easily my number one creature feature.
Or Audrey Durden in the Pasadena Playhouse version.
Yes.
Well, that just speaks to the character that's been around long enough, popular enough, long enough that someone said, like, we have to mix this up, and then they do, and it succeeds. It's also a testament on the character itself, Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think I love the design of that. But yeah, that was like, as I was going through my list, that one just kept like easily popping to the top of the list, and I couldn't find anything to unthrone it for me.
I was definitely about to say, like, you haven't brought up Audrey too. There it is. Right.
Yeah, it's got a big I've bolded it on my list over here. But there's other stuff like, and I think there are certain directors that obviously lend themselves to these things. And I kind of argued with myself over who was kind of the king of the creature feature design, and Tim Burton was definitely up there on my list for a bit, but I think Guillermo del Toro for me probably owns
Del Toro is probably
I think he's the master,
a very visual director. He's very imaginative when it comes to like the things. I mean, you just think about like Pan's Labyrinth and the the guardian with the hands, hands in his eye or eyes in his
what
hands.
a striking
the
creature.
The wild hair in his hand eyes.
How dare you?
Yeah,
he had a wild hair up his ass. That's where he was going for it. We
all
knew it.
If I had seen it, like if I had seen Del Toro's films younger, they would be his creatures would be on this list. But that's something that I got into in adulthood and appreciate on a different level. So it's not going to make my top 10. But he's sort of the new guard. Whereas Burton really was like, I didn't count Jack Skellington in my list because I feel like I was kind of reaching adulthood and was seeing things in a slightly different.
But the sandworms and Beetlejuice,
right?
Definitely.
Very much,
right? Like you got all these creatures in Beetlejuice. I think you know you probably wouldn't count Edward Scissorhands in your by your definition, but that's a creature. That's barely a man. I'm sorry, but it's barely a man.
I love that Nick's whole podcast
is a cookie. Vincent Price made a cookie, man. And you're not going to count him.
He's emasculating all of these people. Like, you're not a man, Edward. You're not. You got scissors. A real man's got fingers.
I'm not saying it like Marjorie Taylor Greene would say it. I'm saying it from like just the clinical.
By the way,
sidebar. Are you guys planning on watching Wednesday?
Yes, absolutely.
It looks really good.
I think it looks great.
Oh, watching the show.
The show Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Like, I'm thinking, like, what is on Wednesday? What did
I'm also gonna do
Who's
something.
on first?
I'm doing something I shouldn't do because it's gonna go right to his head. And I'm gonna speak about him like he's not even here right now. But I actually do agree with Nick that Edward Scissorhands probably is a creature. He's more like Frankenstein that was built from scratch on there. But the Phantom,
you know what, though?
Phantom is just a dude that came out of some lady's vagina.
All right. It was a human man. But was lifted into legend and popular. Oh, okay, I understand.
Because his gross face.
I'm gonna pivot. I'm gonna pivot to another Tim Burton creature that I was obsessed with and doesn't quite make the list because I was starting to get older again.
Jeffrey Jones.
No, the Mars Attacks Aliens, man, based off of the Tops.
Yeah.
Mars Attacks Aliens. I remember I went out after I made my mom made me. The nomenclature is ack like Kathy. But anyway, speaking of Kathy, my mom took me to see this movie when it came out, on the day it came out, and she was feeling like she had like a headache, and she still took me, and I was like obsessed. It was these grotesque, like cutesy skull-faced aliens somehow with a visible brain. I mean, the design, was based on the cards, but it was realized so perfectly to both. Like mostly comedic, but also like at times menacing, and it captured the sense of humor of the cards.
And they moved really interestingly too. Like, I think that, but it was part unmistakably.
It was adapted from source material, crazy campy source material from like the 50s. But like that's a Tim Burton movie. That is a recognizably Tim Burton film without changing the design of the characters so much that it didn't look like the source material. Kind of impressive. And that movie does not
Which
get
is pretty
the love.
rare for him because he has such a distinct visual style. So I think it's hard for him sometimes to adopt things that don't fit into that aesthetic.
Well, that was The Martian Girl. That was his way to like really put his that was a perfect
Lisa
device.
Marie.
Oh yeah.
You look at the like just the tertiary cast in that is like Michael J. Fox, Sarah Jessica Parker. Like, I mean, it was Jack Black, the most insane cast of all time.
It is one of those phenomenally great casts. I completely agree.
And I still remember when it came out, people were just like, what? This movie sucks. Like, I mean, it got made fun of.
Yeah, people did not get it a lot.
But see, the funny thing is, a movie like that today, with that many stars and fun special effects and a name brand
director. It's called Don't Look Up.
Yeah, they don't.
Not as many.
They don't. Not as many. The movie's got like
Mars. If Mars Attacks came out today, that would be the #1 streaming movie in America.
Yeah, it'd be called Don't Look Up.
All right, because
They're the same fucking movie.
no, it is not the same movie.
There's
What are you
a
talking
very
about?
similar. There's a similar tone.
Very,
to
very
them.
similar concept.
There's just more
though.
Oscar winners in Don't Look Up. Although it's close, it's pretty close. You got Glenn Close.
It is
You got
kind of,
Glenn
actually, now that I'm
Close.
thinking about
You got Nicholson. You got DeVito.
You know what?
It's a
You
great
said that
cast.
you said that, Ben, like it was a dig, like it was an insult. But
No,
was
it's not.
being pretty
It's
honest.
very much
Once
the
I get off-
same.
I got
theme.
defensive. Is all I'm saying. I got defensive, but now that I'm thinking about it,
Yeah, you're not. It's not wrong. It's using that
you're
same
just an
idea,
asshole.
especially the characters of Sarah Jessica Parker and
Yeah, I'm still an asshole, but
what's his name? James Bond, Pierce Brosnan are very much characters straight out of Don't Look Up. I mean, or vice versa. You could look at it that way, but yeah, I completely agree. So I want to say one that I wanted to bring up on my list is something I don't know that we've talked about on this. This was a property, Nick, that you kind of
the
had
Geiger aliens.
you put on my radar. I wound up watching this, I think,
Well, we
like
gonna
during
talk
COVID.
about aliens.
No.
Alien, the first one.
Sweet Tooth.
Ooh.
Which I really
Such a good
liked.
show.
I thought was such a fun show, and I don't know. I think they're doing another season. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they are.
It was hard to tell, but I thought the and that's another one it's controversial because you've got these human animal hybrid creatures that you're kind of creating it, but then some of them are much more what I would call animal human creatures. So there's like the bunny rabbit kid. I forget that the name of that character, but it's like that's a full on just like CGI puppet creation versus most of the rest of them are like children that are mixed with Care Bears. So they've got like a kid with antlers and whatever. But I love the design in that property. I think it's great. I think they're interesting of like how they interact with one another. And I did love like seeing like when we got to the point where there were, because at first you're like, oh, and I think that's one of the biggest differences from the comic, as I understand it, is that the comic creatures are much more jarring. And because they made it into a TV show, they made them a little bit cuter and friendlier and fuzzier kind of looking so that it was more like palatable, I think, for the audience. But then you get to some of these creatures like the one that lives at like the garden at the one place that's like this rabbit child. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of interesting that they're making this world where there might be hybrid creatures, and that hybrid idea can go both ways. So it might be that the human gene is the dominant one, and you've got just a kid with antlers, or you might have like a full-on rabbit, but it walks on its like two legs and it can speak like that. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's really a greater conversation of what is a human. What makes you a human?
It's a good call.
Or a man, or a phantom. You know,
I like
it's a
turtle.
layered, nuanced question, isn't it, Matt?
Balls.
Or a person.
Balls. I think it's
As
balls.
opposed
I
to
think
a
the answer
man.
is balls. Yeah. Well, he asked what makes a man, so I'm going to say balls. But if what makes a person, heart.
Well, I think
You've been reading too much J.K. Rowling, Matt.
I think what makes a man is the power in his hands.
Or maybe it's the titties.
It all comes back to Trey Parker, doesn't it?
Oh, goodness gracious.
Do you want my top 10?
Yeah, and I'm gonna. If there are any other ones we want to talk about,
I
on
want to
here,
hear it.
But I'd like to hear the top 10.
I'm gonna give you the top 10 countdown, starting at number 10.
Oh, good for you.
My
Go
case
for
of case 'em.
At number 10.
Number 10. From Star Wars, Salacious Crumb gets the 10th spot. And I'm thinking about like creatures that I just like,
Okay.
I latched on and stood the test of time and was a formidable a force in my cinematic digestion. Number 9 from the Ewok Adventure, Wicket.
Nick, here's what I have to
Yes.
say about that.
Listen,
Wow.
I'm sorry, cancer killed my.
I can
health.
barely,
I could kind of hear it.
I could barely hear that Salacious Crumb laugh because I think it peaked and I think it dropped out in the microphone.
It
but I'll
did
listen to
peak
it
a
when
little
we,
bit. We might catch some of that.
That's all right. Number 9, Wicket from the Ewok Adventure, of course. Gotta give Wicket a seat at the table.
I like that.
Gotta do it. Now,
yeah.
Now,
Getting Warwick Davis in there, I appreciate.
Yeah, oh, of course. Now this is very specific. This is from Flight of the Navigator. It was the Puck Marin, the cute little one that was like a little tree frog.
I love Flight of the Navigator.
I wanted that as a pet so bad, and that's why it gets I mean, it's in it for 2 minutes. It's like one scene.
Not Paul Rubens, the frog.
No, not Paul. Paul Rubens. The frog.
I would like Paul. No, Paul Rubens is the voice of the Navigator.
Oh yes, yeah, of course. So now at number 7, from Secret of the Ooze, Toka and Razor get on my list.
Wait a minute.
Why
not?
Nick. Come on, man.
Why not?
The Wish brand Bebop and Rocksteady because they couldn't like lean into the source material.
Listen, but by default, I think Ryan is just texting us. Did Coolio die? I'm picking it. I just told you. Listen, the episode is called Fantastic Beasts. They were beasts that were made into more fantastic versions of themselves. Couldn't be more on brand for the topic. And yes, would I have preferred Bebop and Rocksteady as a kid? Of course, but it didn't matter because I still loved those guys. I loved that movie. For a while, I liked Secret of the Ooze better than the first one.
Oh no! It was like no, Nick. How we not ever talked about this?
Kids are dumb, and in my maturity, I can look back and realize that was a mistake. But
Nick, everyone knows that the only good part of that movie is Vanilla Ice.
Toka and Razor are a big reason why I love that movie more. So moving on. At the number 6 spot,
mind blown.
Of course, the previously mentioned. Now Ben will think that I undervalued this character, but Falcor comes in at number 6 for me.
Boo.
Number 5, E.T. What are you laughing at? This is a good list.
I'm laughing at he boo to you.
I know.
Unnecessary.
Listen, it wasn't necessary. It was uncouth. Number 4, the Fraggles. Fraggle Rock.
I like that. I was worried about doing too many Muppets. I didn't know if that fit in there, but yeah, I agree.
You worry too much, or I just go to your heart.
I do.
Number 3, the Grand High Witch. You're probably not going to let me get this. Are you going to let me get this?
Yeah, I'll give you that. A witch is a fantastical creature. That's not a human. She's a witch.
And Angelica Houston in The Witches.
I'll give you that.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that made a sexual imprint on me. At
I
number
think
2,
I think if you're going to allow like werewolves, then you have to allow witches.
Okay, fair enough. Angelica Houston is super hot in that movie.
Of course she is.
Moving on. Number 2, the Rankin Bass Gollum. The Rankin Bass Gollum. Absolutely.
Above the real Gollum.
Oh, yeah. Well, what's the real Gollum?
The real Gollum.
What, Peter Jackson's Gollum?
Yeah, the real Gollum.
No,
live action Gollum, the one that counts.
Yes. The character design. There's nothing that's. It looked like a frog, but then also like a primate.
You have
it was
two frogs on your list.
Well, it had these big cloudy eyes. There was something about that character design and also the voice that Circus definitely like took from. But that was the OG, and like I watched that Hobbit so many goddamn times as a kid, and Gollum was always my favorite. Okay. And number 1,
wow,
at your number 1 spot from Clash of the Titans, we go back to my obsession with Greek mythology. Harryhausen, Medusa from Clash of the Titans was my second favorite creature.
Owl. I was getting worried there for a second.
Although I did almost spend $350 on a replica at Comic-Con, and I'm kind of glad that I didn't go with my heart. Of
Me
the
too.
Mechanical gold owl. So, it was life size. It was awesome.
So how dumb is it for me to get the bones that they hold up in the Goonies, like the ones that line up for the islands?
Yeah,
it's $100. Yeah,
and
I'm like,
you got to buy that.
You mean the coin that's got the things in it? Oh,
yeah.
I mean, I would pitch in on that for you to.
No, well, I mean, I was like, my wife and I have a like $100 limit. I was like, well, that's $100, so that's all you're getting.
I will say this does relate to the podcast slightly, but it is sort of not related and funny. I have an item that is sitting on top of my washing machine that has been sitting on top of my washing machine since mid-March, I would say, that I bought for your 40th birthday. I might have been a little
for my emo 40th birthday.
Well, before I knew it was emo, I might have been a little bit inebriated, and it might have been like right around your cancer diagnosis. So I was like, I'm getting Ben something big for his 40th. And then I forgot, and I got like a shipment alert a week later, and it was like, we're delivering this very large box to your house. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. And then it showed up, and I go, oh, I did that. So I have something for your birthday that has been in my garage. You've walked by it. Both of you have walked by it in there. You just wouldn't know what's going on inside of it. But I did splurge on something very silly and very movie related for your 40th birthday. So,
well,
I hope it's not a creature. I mean, it's not, a frog creature, which Nick had 2 of on his list, which I think is rude. But
I mean, technically, I guess. I mean, is the Puckmarin the Puckmarin? I think is what it said on Wikipedia. It was a little. Yeah, it only had the hands like a frog. It didn't look like a frog.
The thing in Flight Navigator?
Yeah,
that looks like a frog.
Thing.
It looks like a frog. It's a frog, Nick.
You think Gollum looks like a frog? Do you agree with me on that?
Oh yeah, 100%.
You do?
That's right. I'm upset that you made 2 frogs on this list.
He's frog-ish.
You're pro frog, and I'm anti-frog.
None of them are frogs, though. I'm just saying, none of them are frogs.
I mean,
essence of frog, perhaps.
Listen, the Cuban frogs, I don't count those as real frogs either because they're from Cuba. So, but I do have
Good
one.
Lord.
I have one creature feature I did want to kind of bring up, but I don't know. I was torn in this one because I don't know if the creature design is as alluring as what kind of the creature represents. But and I believe we brought it up in the podcast before, but a movie called Colossal. And Colossal is...
Oh my God, I was watching Colossal today.
Holy shit. Jason Sudeikis and Anne Hathaway. It is
Anne Hathaway is a person, okay?
She's not in this movie.
Wait, she's not a person?
This movie, I don't know. This is a very hard one to... kind of.
God
it's very hard
you.
to recommend this movie without explaining a little bit of the movie. But
Apparently.
I will say that...
Nick, so you have not seen Colossal?
No.
It is...
Okay. I was going to watch it tonight. Not anymore.
It is a really hard movie to describe without spoiling.
If you have ever...
why would you?
If you've ever...
it's a kaiju movie about alcoholism.
Yes, that's the best way you could describe it.
So like Ginger Snaps is about having your first period and being a werewolf?
Very. Yeah, if I were going to compare thematically, yes, it plays out very much like that. But it is a hard watch. This is not like a happy movie for you to go watch.
It's
but
a hard movie.
Man,
to watch.
is it a phenomenally good movie, and these twists fit in like gut punches. But there's some great creature design.
It'll probably be like a slight flick now that I see it coming.
Well, even what we've told you is still, you'll figure it out. But yeah, that was one that was on my list.
Good.
I mean that last scene with Jason Sudeikis and Anne Hathaway where they're in her house and they're but just the looks that they throw back and forth where it's just like and the angles keep changing.
Just stop it.
He's honestly not giving. We
know,
gave away
why
more at
anyway?
the beginning of this.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry we're spoiling a 7-year-old movie for you, Nick. Maybe you should have gotten your shit together.
Well, you just wanted to
get
the coolest. You wanted to get the coolest answer, and
before
without even describing what it is, we can't judge it.
Before Ted Lasso, Jason Sudeikis did really good things. I'm just gonna say he didn't just start existing with Ted Lasso. Okay, I'm just gonna remind you about that. All right?
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And there's also this girl called Anne Hathaway.
I think she was discovered. I discovered her in this
wrote
movie.
a song about her.
I did write a song about her. Very
No, you
protective.
didn't. No.
I'm very protective
You
of
never
Annie.
did that. You never did that.
So I have a very specific question for you guys. Do you have a favorite dragon representation on film or TV?
Pete's Dragon, the original with the pink mock
Okay,
up.
that's fair. I like that choice. Ben,
Smaug and
Smaug
the
is
Rankin
pretty
Bass?
great.
no,
Or
no,
Benedict?
no, in the Peter Jackson version. I mean, it really is pretty expertly rendered.
It's
The video of
Yeah.
Benedict Cumberbatch on the fucking ground in that mocap
Yeah.
suit is unbelievably good.
The guy, like the definition of not phoning it in. Like, you just need to do a voice. No. I got this. I'm gonna
Oh,
crawl
yeah.
around in the floor in a gray, unflattering gray suit and growl at things.
Yeah, he Andy Circused it. He went hardcore circus.
And I mean, like I've totally abused my relationship with Matt. I totally dragged him to way too many like premieres of stuff.
I loved I loved going to the Hobbits every Christmas with you. I'll be honest; those are fond memories for me.
But that was the one that I think you walked away from that you were like, oh shit, like yeah.
His
like,
I am
Smaug.
death, I am fire.
Yeah.
The ending of that movie
when he
is
flew away and he's like, I am death.
phenomenally good.
death. I
And then it cuts to Bilbo and he's like, what have we done?
I'm a mother.
And I still remember walking out of the movie theater, and you were like, you know, it was like 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah,
and
we went
you
real
were just
late.
Like, and you're like, yeah, that was fucking awesome. Yeah.
It was
Did anyone hear my
I did.
anyone
I
get my
did. Your
Meredith
Meredith
Brooks
Baxter. I'm sorry, Meredith Baxter. Meredith Brooks.
Meredith
No,
Baxter.
You're a bitch.
Your
Yeah.
Meredith Baxter Bernie reference to Family Ties. I totally caught that, Nick. God damn it! And you even said Baxter. God damn it! I was so
I
close.
tried to give you a life.
No, I think the ending of the second Hobbit movie with Smaug is just fucking perfection.
Whenever you guys say Smaug, it reminds me of a guy in line at the coffee stand, like saying,
Smaug.
"I'll have a dark roast and a croissant."
I
Like,
thought
same
it
energy.
was the
Same energy.
desolation of Smog, and then I went to it, and the whole fucking movie, everyone's like Smaug, and I'm like Smaug, and I'm like Smaug, and I'm like, all right, I guess it's Smaug.
Two tickets to Dune, please. Dune.
Is there an SNL sketch about the pronunciation of Smaug? I think there is a sketch about this.
No,
Is there?
There should be.
I think there is actually. Someone makes a joke about Smog versus Smaug. And I feel
My kind of
personally
humor. I bet you.
attacked.
I bet you like the one,
I think it's Colbert.
It might be Colbert.
or maybe it's the one sketch Tim Robinson wrote because it really resounds with me.
He wrote a few that made it on there that are pretty great.
God, the SNL ones are so bad.
My,
They're just like, look, you need your own show, dude. You need your own show.
I love
my
that
drunk boyfriend.
they did. It's funny that they thought that one of the girls in I Think You Should Leave Now. Like one of the main ones he uses was it was her and one of the ones that got picked for SNL. And a lot of people on the message boards were like, we're glad she's staying with Robinson, that she probably wouldn't work well on SNL.
Who was it? Patty?
Maybe I'd have to look it up. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm not as
Not
familiar
Patty
with
Harrison
it.
and She-Hulk?
Maybe, possibly. But yeah, there was a choice between them, and they thought that she was going to go over, and she went.
All right, I gotta
It
Google
is so
that.
funny how like Margot cares, like just does not care about She-Hulk, and Luna is just like, yes, like every
I
episode,
love
just
that,
like,
though.
yes.
I love that.
I think it's funny. Like, so I'm clearly not. I'm neither side of the She-Hulk audience. I'm neither the people that want to hate everything about it, nor am I the target audience for it. And I know this because my favorite episode was the wedding episode, which apparently everyone fucking hates. And I don't understand it because to me, that was the first time that I felt the show operated on the cylinders I was expecting. I thought the whole plot line with the guy that lives forever, with David Pascal,
Mr. Immortal is amazing.
Mr. Immortal was so fucking funny. The idea that he
So
leaps
good.
out the window to get out of like the thing, and then like kills himself to get out of marriages. I'm like, I want to watch every episode of shit like that. And then the wedding was perfect sitcom wedding nonsense to go through, and like I don't understand, I guess, what people are looking for with the show, because I'm like, it's not WandaVision.
It's not built for you.
Yeah,
That's
like
what
it's
I'm
not
saying.
WandaVision, but I don't care because I didn't go into it expecting WandaVision. I also didn't expect Daredevil to show up in any capacity other than a cameo, and the people that are fucking like, I think that's the worst thing I mean, the best and worst thing they could do. They're smart, right? It gets people to tune in each week, but it's pissing them off because they want Daredevil. I'm like, but it's not fucking Daredevil's show.
And that's why I want to do that Wolverine thing. I want everyone to sit through a 2-hour movie for an inconsequential cameo and
that's the
you still got your money.
selling point you
fuck
got for that, for sure. Yeah, I would love for that to be because I'm like, I don't understand the ire for that. But She-Hulk's a creature.
Matt, humankind is flawed.
Yeah.
We're flawed.
Maybe
we're
a
flawed
little bit.
creatures. We're fantastic beasts, but we're flawed creatures.
And where can we find them? That's the question.
Well, everywhere you goddamn look.
It is funny, by the way. I do think the first Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find the movie is a really great fucking movie. I've not liked the other ones in the series. I haven't even watched the third one.
I think you have to be a pretty big Potterhead, because I went with you to see that movie and it didn't.
Well, we watched the
for me.
first one. You liked. The second one was not good.
I mean, I didn't see the second one. The first one,
You did.
It was
We
fine,
watched both of
but
them together.
We did.
Watch the second one with all the people from your company, with the guy that's getting married, and with your editor. I'm so bad. I'm gonna forget all of their names right now.
What are you, Fantastic Beasts?
Yeah, we went to the second one. The one with what's his name? With good Jesus Christ.
What's happening?
We went to the
Johnny
one
Depp.
with Johnny Depp at the end, and then Queenie winds up going off with him. We watched this in the theater with your coworkers here in Florida, in Boca Raton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
I didn't know what thoughts you were drawing together there. Like,
No, I'm so
people
sorry.
that I knew worked on the film. Or
No.
people
We
I
went
worked
with
came
your
us to see the
coworkers.
film.
I went with Johnny and
Right.
But yeah,
I barely remember it because it's a forgettable movie.
no, the second one is not good. But the first movie, I had
It's okay.
very little interest. Maybe it was because I had low expectations for it, and then I was not really.
You had low expectations and a built-in love for the world.
Sure, yeah, I love the casting. I like the creatures in it too. I love the Niffler is a great creature in it. Actually, there's a bunch of really good creatures in that movie that I think.
When are we going to get a
super well
griffin,
designed.
man? When am I going to get my first griffin? I'm going to freak out.
It's gotta. I think it's existed. You just haven't. You haven't
Because
seen.
what movie is it going to be in? It's something going to be like a medieval.
But I think it has been. Wasn't it like? Was there a griffin in Beowulf?
No.
I don't think so, man. It is a creature. It's not like the hippogriff is the eagle and horse, right? The griffin is the lion and eagle.
No, the
And it
hippogriff
may have
is
been-
part griffin. That's the funniest thing about the hippogriff is that it is part of it is a griffin. It's a part of
it's
it's
the
part of a
griffin
mixed
that-
up animal.
The griffin mated with a horse is what I think,
think
happens,
so.
right? Well, you know what it was? It was in Percy Jackson, I think. That's what the griffin was finally in. Or
The
it's in, like, one of those
Spiderwick
other-
Chronicles has a griffin.
Oh,
The
Spiderwick.
Adventures of Bullwhip Griffin.
By the way, the Spiderwick Chronicles
Griffin.
It's a pretty good movie.
I was wondering, I that showed up on some of the lists I was looking at for this. I've not seen the Spiderwick Chronicles, but I
It's a
didn't
good
know
movie.
it was great. But
Well,
yeah,
I guess I have to see the Spiderwick
I guess
Chronicles to see
Nick,
my
you see
first
that
griffin.
or the Adventures of Bullwhip Griffin from 1967.
See, that feels like more of a Family Guy joke. Looking around a room, bull whip.
I'm pretty sure there are no griffins in it. It just showed up because the character's name is Bullwhip Griffin.
No, I get it.
But I think that's phenomenal. And it looks like these might be some famous actors there, but I'm not sure. But anyway, I think.
Listen, next movie night, next time I'm in town, Adventures of Bullwhip Griffin. We're all getting together. We're getting a pizza.
Yeah.
Making some pop.
What are the odds of us accidentally downloading The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle on that same night and getting it completely wrong? I think it's
Rocky and Bullwinkle barely missed my list.
They are creatures. I think that'll do it for us for this off the rails episode of New Way. We thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll talk to you. Actually, I do want to tease one thing.
Whoa.
We are just about into the month of October, and you know what that means? That means we are gearing up for our yearly Halloween episode. And if you've listened to any of our Halloween episodes before, you'll know they are
if you like shit shows,
unlistenable.
y'all like shit shows?
In fact, my review of the first one after I edited an hour and 45 minutes together was, hey guys, it's funny, but it's unlistenable for other human beings. But people seem to like it, so it's now become an annual thing. So we do need to figure out when we're going to record this. But I promise you, we will have a Halloween episode filled with whatever craziness we can get up to. So stay tuned for our Halloween annual episode.
Will there be consumables in this episode?
Well, sure. There should be. There usually
All right.
are. We'll send some candies
candy.
your way. What did you send us last time?
Candy.
You sent us some awful things last time.
I got
lobster mac and cheese.
No, lobster candy, mac and cheese candy. Yeah, it came in a commemorative tin. Do you still have the tin?
I gave it to the girls. Whatever they did with
Somebody
it,
appreciated
it was not from no. No, they did not want anything to do with it. I think it was ritualistically
Who
burned
wouldn't
somewhere.
want a Maine lobster hard candy commemorative tin?
It was,
I understand not wanting the candy, but the commemorative tin.
The tin was just a reminder.
It's handsome.
Terrible. It was a handsome tin, but terrible things happened inside that tin.
Fair enough.
Well, thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time. 1, 2, 3. Cheers.
You don't have to count it out. I'll get it.
Nick hates the countdown.
Don't count it down. It's amateur hour.
Okay, we'll talk to you next time. Cheers.
Ben, you were late. Can you do a countdown, Matt?
1,